Broadcasting live on the Double Wide Network. It's time for The Real Deal. Join the Ambassador and Danny Q as they put together great guests and honest commentary on a range of issues. But one of their main topics will be preserving Native American tributes in sports team nicknames. These two are also avid fans of music and the arts, and they'll always make time for a great song or two. Now, it's time for The Real Deal. And here are your hosts, the Ambassador and Danny Q.
Welcome to The Real Deal, ladies and gentlemen, in the beautiful Camelback Towers at the Star Worldwide Network and beautiful downtown Scottsdale, Arizona. And we're glad to be back. I'm here with my co-host, Danny Q. Hi, Danny.
Hello, Ambassador. How are you?
I'm doing okay, and my nephew, Mark Yellowhorse, is here. How are you doing, Marky?
Pretty good.
We see you come with an Indian.
Oh, my God.
She's right on top of Marcus.
She's always live. She's always
She's
live.
following the beast around.
Yeah, that's it.
Creeping.
Goofball, Harjo. Anyway, we have the son of the morning mayor, the legend Dave Pratt. His son Kyle is our host. Hi, Kyle.
How's it going, everybody?
We're rocking and rolling, and we have Nick and Jennifer, who is a avid fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. Is here, and she represents the Kansas City Chiefs in Scottsdale, Arizona. Is here in the studio as well, and we're having a good time. We got a really good lineup tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We got the mayor of Gustine, California, Mr. Dennis Brazil, is coming back on to talk about the passing of AB30.
Wasn't he great last week?
Oh man, this guy fires it.
He knocked
up.
it out of the box. That was awesome.
He did. He knocked it off the scoreboard.
I got so much positive feedback about him.
Yeah, I bet. And then on the second half, we got my dear friend Johnny Leonard. He's an enrolled member, Cheyenne Arapaho. He is the president of the American Indian Center of the Great Plains in Kansas City, Missouri, ladies and gentlemen. And great guy. He's going to be on the second half. And
another Chiefs fan, huh?
He's a Chiefs fan, but he loves the real deal, man. He loves the real deal, and he feels really bad that the center up there can't help us financially because they don't have any money. And actually, I took a position with them. I am now an elected official of the American Indian Center of the Great Plains. And they want me to be part of it, and I'm going to help them get this thing going. It's going to be big. It's going to be international, and I took the position. It don't pay anything, but we're going to work it out and try to get this thing off the ground. Thank you.
That's pretty good. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you,
That's
Mark.
really cool.
No,
I like
it's great. I mean, I was very honored actually to be a part of this because this is a big deal. And the Buffetts and all of them are big Kansas City Chiefs fans, and so they're very supportive of what we're going to do, and he's going to be on the second half, and we're going to talk about that. But anyway, as always, I want to thank our teams at Kansas City Chiefs, Washington Redskins, Golden State Warriors, Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians, Blackhawks for listening, and also for honoring Native Americans by using these names. And again, as I say, they're coming after you guys. They're coming after all the teams. They're hoping Redskins will go down, and then you guys are going to go down like dominoes. And I keep saying, united we stand, divided we fall, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'm right here. I'm holding the flyer for this demonstration they're having Saturday at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it says, hashtag no honor and racism, and it's saying retire all indigenous mascots. And even though these teams don't have mascots, that's who they're talking about.
Right. Yeah,
they're not stopping at the Redskins.
Yeah, Johnny Leonard called me yesterday and said, I got a call from the Kansas City Chiefs. And I said, yeah. And he says, they're going to have a big protest up in Minnesota because the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Minnesota Vikings, I guess, this weekend. And there's going to be a lot of them up there because the American Indian movement and Hal Britter pays them off, flies them in, Black Horse will be there. This is a big Halbritter show, and that's one of their strongholds. And they're going to be there in full force. And the Kansas City Chiefs told me here a year ago, we really appreciate what you're doing, Chief or Ambassador. We see your press releases, but we're just kind of everything's cool here in Kansas City. I mean, we work with Johnny and the American Indian Center and the local groups here. Everything's fine. I mean, we got it under control. Well, you'll think under control when you go up there this weekend, because this thing's nationwide. It's nationwide. It's not just Kansas City. It's not just Washington, D.C. It's not just Atlanta or Cleveland or up in the Bay Area. This is nationwide movement. And these guys got this law passed, AB 30 in California. Governor signed it. And I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do, but we ain't taking it lying down. But he signed it, and what they want, it's in law, but they want to be the first state in the country to pass this law, and they want to march it across the country to destroy every name. And when they say no honor in racism, and we're coming after all the mascots, that means you. That means you, teams. You guys are billion-dollar franchises. It's your name, not mine. I'm just trying to I'm a little guy here trying to help out, and the other sides are billionaires. And I'm doing this on my own dime. And people like Johnny feel really bad that they can't help me. They love our show, and I'm doing this on my own nickel. And we're all volunteering here, and I'm paying the bill, and we're sending the message out, but it's just not fair,
This duck and cover crap just isn't going to cut it anymore.
Yeah, right. Duck and cover. Like somebody told me that the other teams are gun shy. They're gun shy.
Yeah, they're afraid. Everybody's afraid to step out on the limb.
Well, you're going to be pushed out of the tree. Forget about stepping out on the limb.
Hung out to dry.
Yeah. But anyway, how was your weekend, Dan and Mark? Anything exciting happen?
No, not really. I turned 38 yesterday.
Oh, hey! Happy birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, 38!
Holy cow. That's awesome, Dan.
Never thought I'd make it this far.
That's really cool, man. Heck yeah.
Well, no, I had a good weekend too. As you know.
Yeah. So, you were hanging out with the Maker's Mark people over in Wickenburg. What was going on over there?
Well, I've known Bill Samuels is the owner of Maker's Mark. Okay. And Maker's Mark is the #1 bourbon in the world. And, Bill's out of Louisville, Bill and Artie Meyer and are all out of Louisville, Kentucky. These are old Kentucky families. And Bill's grandfather and grandfather were in the whiskey business, and they started Maker's Mark. And Maker's Mark is made in a beautiful distillery about 65 miles from Louisville, and it's in Laredo, Kentucky. And so I don't know, years ago. We've been friends for a long time, and I go visit with them in their homes in Louisville, and when they come to Arizona, they stay with me, and then I go out to Wickenburg, which is about 65 miles from Phoenix, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a very, very beautiful community, and it's out in the middle of the desert, and so I go stay with them, and so they invited me out because they said, "Hey, Chief," they call me Chief, and they says, "Chief, you got to get out of this house here. You got to get out of this big house and get out and do something and just get back, to living a normal life." And I said, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it." So I went out, and it was really cool. When I was driving across the desert and flying out there, it's only 65 miles, but I just felt like I had a big load lifted off my back, and it was like going to Disneyland, really. But anyway, we went out there, and so years ago, he asked me, he says, "Hey, Chief," he says, "I want you to be the ambassador to Maker's Mark." And I said, "Okay, yeah, I can do that." And so he said, here's business cards with your name on it. You're an official ambassador to Maker's Mark bourbon." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And he says, "Well, I just want you to show up when we have a function, and I'll send you a plane ticket. And if it's in Chicago, if it's in New York, if it's in L.A., and we had several here in Phoenix, in Scottsdale, and it was really nice. And what happens is, ladies and gentlemen, is we'll take the Phoenician Resort or the Camelback Inn, one of these really high-end 5-star resorts here in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley, And instead of having a wine tasting, we'll have a Maker's Mark tasting. So there'll be like 20 of the top mixologist bartenders from all over the valley that come to the resort, and then they'll make their Maker's Mark drink, whatever that is. It can be a Maker's Mark Manhattan, a Maker's Mark Martini, a Maker's Mark Mint Julep, or a Maker's Mark whatever. And then so I'm there shaking hands and taking pictures, and Bill's usually there with me, and we're shaking hands and taking pictures, and it's quite cool. And I was honored to do it, and honored to be the ambassador to Maker's Mark. And if anybody ever wants to go to the distillery in Laredo, Kentucky, call the ambassador. I'll set you up a private tour, or I can even go with your group back there if you want me to. And it's interesting how they make the bourbon. The bourbon is, they have to use 51% corn, and the other 49% is wheat and barley. And they put it in this cooker, and they cook it, and they have really good water there. You got to have good water to do this. And they have these limestone springs in Laredo, and that's why they picked that site, because it has the best water source. So then they cook they call it sour mash, okay? Then they take that sour mash after they cook it, and they put it in this big vat, and then their secret ingredient is their yeast. And they put their own secret ingredient in there that's been in their family for 100 years of yeast. It's not just any kind of yeast. And then it ferments. And it starts bubbling and bubbling. After several days, it just starts bubbling like a volcano. And then pretty soon, after that process is done, then they run it through a still. And then the still takes the alcohol out of the brew, and then that alcohol is moonshine. It looks just like water, and then it goes into barrels. It goes into oak barrels, and then these oak barrels set in their warehouses for 6 years, and then after 6 years, the water looks like amber. It looks like iced tea, and that's Maker's Mark bourbon. But it's the #1 bourbon in the world. And if you ever get a chance and you're out and you want to try something adventurous, try it. You like it, and tell them you know the ambassador.
I'm giving up iced tea now and just going to drink that instead.
Straight over the rocks. I don't like that mixed stuff when I do have a drink.
Yeah, you've tried it, haven't you, Mark?
Yeah, it's really good.
Actually, did you see? He was at the celebration the other night, and he brought some fancy bottles of stuff for me. Did you see that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's all. You can't buy that in a store.
No, not at all. As a gift. They're private labels. I was actually surprised. I was like, hey, I want one.
Yeah. No, well, I want us to all go down there, and trust me. I mean, we go down there with him, and it's big time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool when I go down there. But anyway, I just want to do a shout out to my brothers and sisters at Navajo. We got some new listeners tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. and Mrs. Albert Damon and family. They're Navajos. They're Redskins fans. They're going to be on the show. They're going to come down from Window Rock. They live in Window Rock, Arizona, the capital of the Navajo Nation.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you remember him, don't you? He was with us at the game, remember?
Yeah,
so I want to just say hi to my brothers and sisters in Navajo. Nahadani, Ambassador Dennis Yellowhorse and Shehadishpanana, Akwetsala, 505 Redskins, Akwetsala, Flagstaff Redskins. Thank you for listening. Dan Snyder, gatekeeper, don't forget that. Dan Snyder is the gatekeeper to keep these names from changing. Halbritter, Klinkpapit, Mai. Halbritter's a wolf. You know what the word Mai means in Navajo. He's a wolf. He's a coyote. And he's a bad person. And we just keep exposing him. So thank you, Dan Snyder and my Navajo brothers and sisters for listening. Viva Yaqui Nation. That's my brothers and sisters on the Yaqui Nation in southern Arizona and northern Mexico. And one of my employees is Yaqui. Her name is Priscilla, and they're all listening. And thank you for that. And also always like to shout out and say a special thank you to all our listeners in Lancaster, New York, Neshaminy, Pennsylvania, Wilmington, Delaware, Goshen, Indiana. We love you, man. If it wasn't for you people, I don't know where in the hell we'd be.
Oh, let's not forget Tulare, Chowchilla.
Yeah, and then our fight now Gustine. Is in California, and that's where we're going here in a few minutes. We're going to Gustine, and we're fighting the fight. I think we should make the announcement where we're going a week from tomorrow, Dan.
We're going to show up in person, take this fight right to the battleground. We're going to Gustine, California.
All right.
Next Friday.
We're going to go stomp around out there.
And we're going to celebrate, I believe it's their homecoming weekend.
Yeah, they're going to have us out in the field. We're going to homecoming, but we're going out there. We're going to have our red gear on, and we're going to be passing out cards, telling them about the real deal, and I'm going to get on the loudspeaker right at halftime with the mayor, and I'm going to lay the law down. Trust me, I'm going to lay the law down.
Man, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited.
We leave a week from tomorrow, Dan, Mark.
Next Thursday.
Yeah, and we're going to go out there, and we're flying up to San Jose
in the skies,
and we're going to be passing the hat through the plane to see if we can get some donations.
Yeah, that's way to do it.
But no, seriously, folks, try to support us financially, man. I mean, this is ridiculous. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But any little bit helps. And I'm not a billionaire. But so with that being said, Dan, I know what I wanted to say. Ladies and gentlemen, the Star Worldwide Networks is the number one fastest growing internet radio station in the country, without a doubt. And I want Kyle Pratt to tell our listeners of all the shows at Star Worldwide, tell our listeners who's number one.
That would be the real deal.
That's it. I told you it was the real deal. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, Danny, tee him up.
I don't think he needs much of an introduction after last week. He blew us away.
Man, he knocked it out.
Mayor Dennis Brazil of Gustine, California. How you doing tonight, Mayor?
Hey guys, how are you? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Oh, thank you for coming on, Mayor. And I look forward to meeting you a week from tomorrow.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it also.
Right?
Just give we're talking under substantially different circumstances than last week. Governor Jerry Brown signed AB 30 into law. That's a law that just picks on these four schools and bans the Redskin name.
And eventually others.
Alejo's made it clear. He said that to the Senate Education Committee that he's going after the other names. He's just starting here. He also said in Indian Country Today Media Network, Hal Britter's newspaper, the one that he owns personally,
right,
that he used the scalp lie.
Did he?
He did. He said that it meant bloody scalps. Tell us, Mayor, what's the reaction from you and from the rest of Gustine, and what do we do now?
Well, obviously, you can imagine we're all pretty disappointed that the governor signed the bill and that it is now law, officially law, and it'll take effect on January 1st, 2017. But an interesting fact to note that during the process since the AB 30 bill was introduced, not one person from Luis Alejo's staff contacted any of the four schools in the valley about this, nor did anybody from the governor's office contact any of the four schools about this. So I think if you're going to have a bill out, I think wouldn't you do your due diligence to make sure that you're talking to everybody about all the facts?
I would think
isn't
so.
What we preach? Yeah, isn't what we preach as politicians? I mean, I do, because this is the kind of politician I am. Transparency. Everything should be transparent. There was no transparency in this bill, none. And it's pretty sad that we have, elected officials operating at this capacity, because it's not good politics, and it does not reflect what the good citizens of California and America are. It's a poor representation.
It sure is. Yeah, it's just this is the way Hal Britter runs it. Shove it down their throat, and they'll say, hey, okay, whatever you say. But people in Lancaster and around the country, they're getting tired of this. They're getting tired of this, and they're going to start pushing back, and we're going to give them the platform to do it.
You're absolutely right. The other thing that's going on here, exactly what you mentioned here just a few minutes ago, that this is the starting point for them. And they chose four small schools in California because they were easy targets. And there's no rocket science to none of this. small schools have a small budget.
Right.
And if you're going to fight something and you don't have the money in your budget, guess what happens?
No,
Put it on the back burner.
Yeah, they look at you
Or
guys.
you don't do anything at all.
Yeah, they look at you guys like sitting ducks. That's what they do.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
You know, are you guys?
Imagine
ahead.
imagine the magnitude of this from everyone in the state. Well, for sure, everybody in this valley is watching this. Everybody in the state that has any American Indian name attached to them is watching this.
Absolutely.
But to take it to the national level, for every team, it doesn't matter from high school to professional sports, everybody now has just entered the bullseye.
That's right.
So this is a game changer. This, they use this term all the time in everything, right?
Right.
Game changer. This is a game-changing event, I guarantee it.
It is, because we have schools all over the United States. Every state in our country, I'll guarantee you, has schools with Native American names. Every one of them.
Absolutely.
And so this is their launch pad to knock them all down.
That's exactly right.
And that's why go ahead.
I will kind of reiterate from last week. We've done our homework. In the 4 schools that are in this San Joaquin Valley, not one of those schools have ever misused the Redskin name or logo,
right,
in a racial or derogatory way, ever.
Right.
And to me, I believe in the common sense factor. This is black and white. If any school had, I would be the first person to tell you that we need to back out of this logo thing, support it, and be done with it. But
absolutely.
That's not what's going on here. That's not what's going on here.
Absolutely.
And obviously, I'm not an expert in, Native American culture, but let's just back up 200 years. In 200 years, there's no sign of factual fact that I can see or that I've seen presented that shows that the term redskin was derogatory or racial.
It's not.
Now, if you want to back up, let's say 2,000 years, maybe it was back then. But are we going to live? Well, even move to the 21st century. Where in our books that our kids have in our schools in history does it show that this term is racial or derogatory? It does not.
Well, it's like I said last week, Mayor. 300 miles north of here, from where I'm sitting right here up on the Navajo Indian Reservation, we have a school called the Red Mesa Redskins. And we have a school called the Shiprock Chiefs and the Tuba City Warriors and the Sanders Braves and the St. John's Redskins, and the Scouts. And all of the kids that go to these schools are Navajos, Hopis, some Ute Indians, but mostly Navajos. And their parents went to these schools. And the teachers are Navajos. The administrators are Navajos. The bus drivers are Navajos. And these schools have been that name for 100 years. Why in the world will we be sending our children to these schools if it was racist, derogatory, and it was going to hurt their mind or their mindset? It doesn't make any sense because it's not true. That's why that this is just a BS scam.
There's no real proof provided to the governor, too. I guarantee it was just a whisper in his ear, a little check here.
Yeah.
He didn't come to the public eye and ask us, Navajo Nation, the high school out there in California,
No,
well,
it's
disgusting.
Absolutely.
That's
those
where
are all good points.
I mean, that shows the whole corruption that's involved in this. Obviously, there's handouts going on. They sold your school out without, even a word to you guys, and it's just so despicable. But Mayor, I know there's a lot of things being discussed, and there's certain things that, we don't know if we're going to do yet. We can't talk about yet, but what are some of the options that we have to fight this? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that Gustine or any of the towns really are ready to lay down yet. What can we do? What can people do? What can you do as a leader?
What can we do to help?
Yeah, so here I've been thinking about this obviously since. Well, I found out Sunday at 1:30. My phone started blowing up via text message and voicemails about AB 30 talking. Some of them were friends calling. Some of them were the media calling for a statement or a comment. But so I've had time to think about this and try to digest it. And along with that, remember, there's every day something else is unfolding and something is being said, or there's somebody just finding out about what just happened. That's part of the process. You have 4 schools in the San Joaquin Valley. Now that this is passed into law, and this is just my opinion, looking at this from the, as a broad, each school needs to have the discussion with their superintendent and their school board. What do they want to do? Are they going to fight this all the way to the end and hopefully win? Or are they going to abide by the law in 2017 and make the change? And I think each school, as we speak, is probably doing that very thing. They're behind the scenes talking this out.
Right.
And weighing out their options and what's going on. That's step 1.
Right.
Step 2 is once those discussions are done, the 4 schools now need to communicate with each other on what the thoughts and plans are of each school.
That's important, is the communication between the schools. Just like I keep telling these teams, and I send them emails all the time saying, you're sitting there getting run over and you're letting Dan Snyder take the hits. I said, it's time you get off your rear end because this ain't going away. You can say, oh, no, it's Dan Snyder's problem. We're fine here in Kansas City. We're fine in Atlanta. Yeah, we're cool. But when they start passing these laws state by state, what are you going to do then? What are you going to do? You guys should be picking up arms, organizing, and let's get this show on the road. And I know how to do it.
That's right.
And because it's not my name. I don't own the Atlanta Braves. I don't own Kansas City Chiefs' name. I don't own the Redskins' name. I don't own none of these names.
I'll tell you this, Mayor. A lot of our listeners have been, getting involved with the other towns that are going through the same things that they are. And I'm not sure if you noticed all of our listeners who changed their profile pictures to the Gustine Redskin, and they're all in this with you. Is there something? I know a lot of them, are California residents. Is there something that they can do to help you? Should they call the governor?
Absolutely. The number that you guys gave out, I called it too, and put my 2 cents in. I mean, this is how things work, and we all know this, is that the more attention you put to something, the more attention it gets, right?
Right.
So if you want to put it on the spotlight, then you put it on the governor's front door because he's the one that signed it. And along with that, on Louis Lejo's front door, too, because he's the author of the bill.
Well, I'm hoping
But let me...
Go ahead.
Let me back up one step. So I did a little homework to try to find out, what would our options be. We have 2 options. The first option would have been to file an injunction with the state Supreme Court, but that cannot be done because it was already signed into law. So that option 1 is now off the table. Option 2 is really the only option that these 4 schools and anyone else moving forward will have on any bills that may come up or on this bill. And it's going to be called a referendum. And what a referendum is going to do is it would require 350,000 votes. 350,000 signatures from California citizens to put this back on the ballot to be voted on. And if it was voted down, the bill's done and it's dead, gone. Now, let me take it one step farther. So if we're talking about 4 schools to get 350,000 signatures, probably a pretty tough thing to do. So let's move it out to the borders of California, right?
Right.
30 million, I think, or whatever it is, Californians. Makes it a lot more doable, right, to get 350,000 signatures. But you heard what I said last week, go big or go home, right?
Right.
So I say if that's our option, if the 4 schools think that that's our option, then now we're all in this together.
Right.
That means every sports team from high school level or lower, think about the kids that play baseball, all the Pee Wee leagues and major leagues and minor leagues and anything else, the Pop Warner footballs that are named after American Indian names. But take it not only from California, but take it to the national level. Because if we're going to get 350,000 signatures, we're going to need everyone across the nation to buy in to convince the California residents that we need 350,000 signatures to get it on the ballot. And my dream or goal would be we don't stop at 350,000, let that number keep going until it hits 500,000 or just keeps running to prove a point to the governor and Luis Alejo that wrote this bill that they were wrong.
And Halbritter.
And I think we can do it. And Halbritter, and Ray Halbritter also. And I think we can do it, but we got to all be on the same page, and we got to all buy in, and we all got to be looking at the same target.
I agree, and we'll be right out front. I mean, this show.
And this will.
We'll as long as I can get some supporters to stay on the air, we will be the voice. We will be the platform. And what's good about this show is we're internet radio, so you can be in California, you can be in Oklahoma, you can be in Timbuktu, and listen to the real deal. And
I'd love to see Facebook pages or Facebook pictures changing all over the United States with the Gustine Redskin logo, or the Chowchilla Redskin logo, or the Tulare Redskin logo, or Calaveras' Redskin logo, because that right there will send a message. But it's going to be the momentum. But step one is right now they need to make that decision, and I think that's what's really taking place right now.
Well,
these 4 schools are trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then once they get to that point, then that's where we decide.
Well, you have so much support around the country because of our show. Our show is going completely viral. We have people listening from coast to coast that agree with us, and they got some skin in the game, and they're concerned about their team or their school, or they're just good people, and they're saying this is
absolutely
wrong. They're just good people, and this is wrong, and we're giving them the platform and the voice to stand up and fight and unite and help, and we're willing to go, and that's why I'm paying for this trip that we're leaving next Thursday, a week from today, and we're coming to hit the battleground with you, and we'll stand with you on the field. Please bring the media, bring the TV people, bring everybody you can, because that's what Dan does. Dan deals with these guys, and he's very professional at it, and so instead of them questioning me and Mark, they just go right to Dan. I just point my finger at him and say, you got any questions? We'd like to interview you. You interview him, and then he'll tell you what our position is. And
I just want to iterate too. The Capitol office phone number for Luis Alejo is 916-319-2030, and the governor's phone number is 916-445-2841. And call both of them. Give them a piece of your mind. At least tie up their phone lines as long as you can. Call them again. Call them 3 times a day. Give them hell. This is what they're doing to people. California, Native America has so many other issues on the table right now, and this is the only thing that these guys can come together on. They haven't done one thing to help these tribes. They haven't done one thing to help these towns, but they come together on telling people what free speech is.
Well, that's the main thing. That's my beef with this. Well, I got a lot of it, but the Native American aspect. But the big problem is this is a clear violation of free speech. Any way you want to cut it. And
I agree.
And the ACLU will even tell you that. And I've contacted them, and we're talking. But I can tell you one thing: this is it. This is a clear violation of free speech. I don't care if it's Redskins, Blackskins, Greenskins, Braves. It's you can't tell people you can't say this.
That's right.
You can't do it. And that's what our First Amendment of our beautiful country is about. And you got some moron, fake Indian, phony crook like Halbritter, who runs a casino and took over an Indian tribe, and he's a fake Indian, and we're exposing him. Claudia Tenney exposed him. Listen to our first show, ladies and gentlemen, the premier show, and she tells you what a fake, phony fraud that this man is. And he's not an Indian. He's not an Indian.
And if you don't think he's behind this, he's standing right with Alejo, and they're both laughing at all the members of the tribes that support these names and all the towns that support these names, and they're going to laugh at yours next if you don't get together and come to and stand behind Gustine, Tulare, Cavaleras,
Chowchilla,
and Chowchilla.
Yeah, and teams, big, the major league teams, listen, I know you're listening, and we got to unite, because you can't just sit there and say, it's not my problem. Well, if you think it's not your problem, Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta Braves, Chicago, Cleveland Indians, Chicago Blackhawks, go out to Minnesota, the Viking game this Saturday or Sunday, and you'll see what kind of a problem it is. And in the flyer right here that Dan has in front of me that they're passing out, it's all the mascots, and you don't even have a mascot. It's all the mascots. That means you, sugar. So you better get off your rear end and say, hey, it's time we do something. Or sit down and hire some lawyers and do whatever you do. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of preaching to you morons. I mean, if I run a big corporation like you did, I'd be the first one on the bus and ready to go. It just pisses me off that you guys sit there and let Dan Snyder take the hits. It's just not fair.
Look, Mayor, I know you got to run. You're a very busy man. Are you going to be there next week for the homecoming?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't miss it. I'll be on the sidelines. I'm usually on the sidelines.
I can't wait to shake your hand in person.
We want pictures with you, shake your hand, and we want to stand on the field with you if it's appropriate.
Absolutely. We'll see if we can get it all worked out for sure.
Okay.
I'd like to leave with one final closing thought, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
That this is a perfect opportunity that we've had, two people manipulate a bill for the wrong reasons, and they picked on 4 schools that they knew were easy targets, and there's no denying that. Okay, we're all small schools,
right?
But if we really want to show power for the right reason, this is the absolute perfect time for every major league team, because they have the money, they have the clout to speak up and protect these small schools.
Absolutely.
And I'm not just saying it because I'm the mayor of Gustine and the high school here happens to be one of them. I would still be saying the same thing if it was not, because I do not believe that this bill was right from the beginning. You're right, it's against our freedom of speech. And this bill has been sideways. Like I told you guys, from the minute I heard it, it was already running sideways.
Right. Well,
but the power is in one, right? So
right.
If there's anything, and the people that are listening out there, from every sports level to our professional sports, here's your chance to what I call pay it forward. You want to pay it forward? This is a perfect time. Pay it forward and show the people that put this together that was wrong, that they're wrong.
Absolutely.
Because we can do it as one.
Absolutely. And you know what, Mayor? I've been saying this for years, that, why in the hell don't these major league teams across the country, or college team, universities, why don't they stand behind us? I mean, I'm up here paying for all this stuff, and you're out here, nobody's paying you to talk to me tonight, and you're out here out of the goodness of your heart because it's the right thing to do, and you represent your community, and I'm paying for my team to fly up there to be with you next week, to stand on the field with you, to deal with the media, and it's just not fair and it is the right time. It's the right time for these guys to wake up and say, okay, enough's enough. Enough's enough. Yeah. What do we got to do?
Absolutely.
What do we got to do?
That's right. Because
and we'll figure it out.
And you guys know this. The tables are going to turn. And if they succeed here, when they go after the pro teams, trust me, even if we lose, I will be behind them.
Yeah,
because
me
I
too.
don't ever give up on nothing. But
right.
This is a chance for all of us to unite as one. It really is.
Right. We're going to have to run, Mayor. Thank you so much. We got another guest going to Kansas City. You got something you want to say, Mark?
Yeah, completely. I just want everyone to, jump in the fight and unite with us. Just go ahead and give them a piece of your mind on Aleo's office. The number again is 916-319-2030.
That's
okay.
And then also Governor Jerry Brown's 916-445-2841. Tell them that the real deal and everyone and the ambassador Danny Q and the Beast sent you over, and Naga's coming after them.
Yeah, and we're going to be there next week. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a short break, but you know what the problem with you name changers is.
You can't handle the truth.
right. That was Rod Stewart, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with me. Rod Stewart's an English rocker, and the gentleman playing with him was Ronnie Wood, playing the guitar. He's played with him and played with the Rolling Stones, and I just love this damn rock and roll, I tell you. Anyway, so now we're back, and we're going to go to our second guest, my good friend Johnny Leonard, and I gave you a brief introduction to who he is and what he does, but I want to get him on the air because we're running out of time, and he'll tell you who he is and what we're doing in Kansas City. Johnny, are you there, sir? Johnny. What happened? John, are you there? Call him again. Anyway, he's with the American Indian Center of the Great Plains, which I'm involved in now, and he's the president. And
he's been working with us for quite some time behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, great, and he's got so many people listening to our show. I don't know if we're having phone difficulties here or not, but Kyle's trying to get him back in the queue here.
He must be with T-Mobile. Their coverage doesn't scatter throughout the whole
I don't know. Is he in, Kyle? Okay, we're trying to get him back up. But anyway, we're doing some great things in Kansas City. Is he in?
Yeah, I'm right here,
hey,
Ambassador.
Johnny, how are you, buddy?
So I'm doing good. We're enjoying the Royals right now.
Oh. Hey, how the Royals doing?
Well, they're down 2-0, but we've got a guy on first, no outs, and one of our better hitters is up.
And they're playing the Astros, right?
Yeah, and now I got time. We just hit into a double play.
Okay. Well, Johnny, I want you to – we've been trying to get you on the air, and you and I talk, 2 or 3 times a day, 4 times?
Oh, at least.
Yeah, and we've become really good friends, and I'm honored that you selected me to be part of the American Indian Center of the Great Plains. I really am, and I'm going to help. I'm here to help, not hurt. I got a lot of business savvy, as you know, and
right.
And I know you love our radio show, and you send it out viral, and we got all the people listening in the Great Plains that are Native Americans. I want you to tell our listeners, if you would, please, who you are, who your mom was, where you come from, and then just roll it on into the Great Plains, the American Indian Center, please.
Okay. Well, my name's John Learned. My mother was, I'm Cheyenne Arapaho. My mom was chairman of the Cheyenne Arapaho for many years, and I went to the University of Kansas, was on the football team at KU. And when I was a student at KU, my mom had just become chairman in Oklahoma with the Cheyenne Arapaho, and
right.
She called me. And she says, honey, now that I'm chairman, we're going to go after Little Red. And Little Red, if for your listeners, was a native student that was dressed like Indian. And when OU would score, he would dance around. And at that time, it was very offensive to a lot of natives. But I also realized that was a long time ago. And what I see now is we're in a new century. People are a little bit more open to change and to be educated. And that's what we're doing here at the American Indian Center of the Great Plains. I saw the uproar with the Redskins, and I thought, I understood that back in the 70s and 80s. But I don't understand that now because I'm not sure what the win is for Native America to take those names away and lose an opportunity to educate the public about Native culture
right.
and about our history.
Right.
So what I've done here at the Hall of Fame, at the American Indian Center of the Great Plains, is we approached Mark Donovan last year.
And tell our listeners who he is.
Mark Donovan is the president of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs were formed back in the 1960s, and they've been in Kansas City, and they've been a lot of people support the Chiefs here. I definitely do. As a little kid, when they moved to Kansas City, we were all excited about it.
Right.
But when I talked to Mark, my thought was, here's an opportunity, if the Chiefs were willing to work with us, to educate the fan base, the young fan base, about Native America and what is offensive to a lot of natives. And so that's how we got started. One of the things that Mark and I talked about was, the headdress is a big issue, and I think a lot of your listeners probably know that. But dominant society has never been taught why it's offensive to anybody.
Right.
And a lot of natives don't know.
Exactly.
And so what we did was we had a program with our working group here, and I asked Mark, I said, listen, I'm not going to ask you to do anything different than what you already do at your game, except I would like for you to promote American Indian Heritage Month. And by doing that, I'd like to be able to put a face on Native America. Yeah, we have the color guard, have that native, have your singer of the national anthem, have that native. And so we went down, and he thought that was a good idea. And I said, some of the things that you're doing, that you bringing back your tradition, like the drum and some of these other things, I think is great. If you use that as an opportunity to educate your fan base on drum etiquette for Native Americans. We did the blessing of the four directions.
Right.
And we had a lot of participation from a lot of the tribes here locally. And one of the things I mentioned to Mark, by doing this, you guys, the Chiefs, and your fans will become aware of what's offensive to us, but in the same token, we'll be able to exchange ideas and work together to find a solution that's positive.
Exactly.
Where we all win, not just one group.
Right. Well, it's like you and I have talked every day, and I feel so close to you. I mean, especially since I lost my wife, and I'm so honored to be part of the American Indian Center as an elected officer, and I'll be there to help. But we're here. Our whole goal, your goal, and we're all on the same page. And our goal here at The Real Deal is to educate, not eradicate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I've talked with the Chiefs about is that, I don't want to just shove it down anybody's throat.
No, absolutely
the things
not.
that we're doing are good things. They're positive things. Where would anybody learn about the headdress?
Right.
And one of the things that we did this summer was that we did football camps out on the reservation. We did a few out with the Iowa tribe here in Kansas and did some other things with the Kickapoo. We went to the chairman of the Sac and Fox here in Kansas, and we invited her to participate in our program last year. And,
right.
She wouldn't hear of it. But we went up there, and we handed her the information that we hand out at the games. The Kansas City Chiefs have given us a booth to hand out educational information at Arrowhead.
Right.
And on there, it explains the meaning of the headdress and of war paint.
Sure, and that's good.
And it's absolutely good, because one of the things is people are going to make, I think, good choices if educated.
Right.
Nobody's going to go out and try to put somebody down for being
nobody.
Being
that's
that.
Not the intent. And you know what?
Sure.
I got to hand it to Danny here. When that Chiefs game was going on, and he was face to face with Amanda Blackhorse, and she said, "Look there, look at that.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a headdress going on." And he says, "You know something?" He said, "Those people." And let's face it. They don't know Native American culture.
Exactly.
You can call them ignorant. You can call them uneducated. But that day, that minute that they put that headdress on, they were thinking about us.
Exactly.
And that was good.
And the thing is when people do become educated, they won't do it. They'll do it out of respect. And let me tell you, we had a big victory today here in Kansas City. It's a victory that probably won't go noticed right away. But one of the advertisers advertising for their company. And
Right.
at the end of the advertising, they were promoting the Chiefs, and they had some non-native all dressed up with black war paint on and a headdress, and some crazy woman all and I find that offensive. So what I did was I contacted the Chiefs, and they become aware. One of the things Mark Donovan said, when we came into the stadium, we never noticed that. We never noticed our fans dressed up like that. But we do now, and it's like a beacon. We see them, we say, there's one, and we can't stop but look back at that.
I'll tell you proof that you guys are doing good work. It's also one of the things that Native American Guardians Association has been kind of trying to hit home with these teams all over is the sensitivity issues that you're discussing. Sure. But I went to the Chiefs preseason game again. The whole show from about 10 of the Native protesters were out there. And they were ready to jump all over anyone wearing a headdress or red paint on their faces, and they didn't find a single one there at this year's preseason game. That's from December 5th till 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago?
4 weeks ago, right.
So that's less than a year, and the message is hitting home. And even here, in our staunch advocacy for these images, we believe in that. We believe in the sensitive, mindful use of these images, and that it's done correctly.
And it's not going to be disrespecting. You're not going to show up to a game
and we're all on the same page. But then you have some phony like Halbritter that's trying to shove it down people's throats for his own personal gain.
Well, I've asked, Haskell Indian University is real close here,
right?
And they have a lot of people that are in the other camp that
including Black Horse.
Yes, I went to KU, so did Amanda. So I guess we weren't.
Must
the
be
same
proud.
But one of the things that I see is if they change the name Redskin to something else, well, we've lost our seat at the table to cause any real positive change.
You're absolutely right.
And what I see is people, when educated, more times than not, are going to make the right decision. I really believe that. And I've expressed this to a lot of natives, and they don't see it that way because they want it changed right now. And I pointed out to a good friend of mine, Ernie Stevens,
who's a good friend of mine. His grandfather was my good friend.
He is. I love Ernie. He is the president of the National Indian Gaming Association, and we had a nice discussion down in Tahlequah. And I asked, "What's the win for the name change?
Yeah,
what is the win for Native America?
Yeah, what's the end game? What's the end game?"
That's what I always say, and you know what? It always comes down to one with respect. I said respect is earned, and we have that opportunity now because of what my mother and other people's elders went through back in the 60s and 70s. I remind people, back in 1960, when the Chiefs were formed, that was all white guys. Black America didn't have a voice. Women didn't have a voice. Brown America didn't have a voice. But that's changed. We're in a new century now, and I think that people are more aware of and more sensitive to trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And through education, that's where change really happens. And that's why I told the Chiefs, I'm not going to ask you to do anything, but I guarantee you, as this thing progresses, you're going to see and you're going to change and say, no headdresses allowed in Arrowhead. Well,
right.
Then that's real change.
Right, that's real change. But
them.
the big thing, Johnny, is the Chiefs have been saying to me, Bill Chapin and all those guys, and I communicate with them just like as you know, and that's how we met.
Right, that's how we met.
And they're saying, oh no, everything's all right in Kansas City.
Right.
Everything's cool in Kansas City. But this is this is a coast to coast problem. I mean, it's not just Kansas City.
It is, but see, here's our opportunity.
Right.
Here's our opportunity to.
I'm with you.
Here's an example. You've got high schools, right? That are asked that the other group is going after.
Right.
Well, what positive can the schools do to change? And positive would mean that our team is the Redskins. Okay, well, we're going to have every freshman that comes in at the assembly is going to learn about the Native American and where we got our symbol.
Absolutely.
Why our mascot is this. The Indians in this area were blah, blah, blah tribe, and this is what they did. When I was at KU, this is years ago, old school stuff, but when I was at the University of Kansas, as a freshman football player, we had to know, besides the fight song, we had to know when the school was founded, what was the first graduating class. There were like 10 things that we needed to know as freshmen. So by the time we left KU, we knew that.
Right.
And
That's
I don't
great.
see that there would be anything wrong with putting together a program. If you're the Braves, Redskins, Warriors, to have a program like that and to be able to share that with the Native culture that's around.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to do at the center, at the American Indian Center of the Great Plains, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm so honored that John asked me to be a part of that. It just overwhelms me because I'm all in, man. I mean, this is my fight. I love it. And I'll work with you day and night to try to do that. And I will come to Kansas City.
Well, you better.
I will. I will.
Hey, I got one other quick story here if I can. I was at one of these panels earlier this year about the Redskin. They were going to debate that here locally at one of the places. And I went down with Gary Johnson, who's also on our group.
Right.
And I said, all we're going to do is listen. Well, we went down there, and there was not anybody from a side that I represent. It was all Redskin this, we need to change. But out of that, there was this one lady who lives in Lawrence, Native, obviously, everybody was Native. And she said that her daughter had a letter from the school, the teacher, for Halloween, one of the kids wanted to dress up as an Indian princess. And she says, no, I don't want that. No, I'm an activist. I don't want any of that. Well, me, seeing an opportunity, I thought, absolutely, the lady can dress up as an Indian princess. What tribe? What did they wear? Where are they from? Are you just, by doing that, now kids have got to learn about Cherokee or Navajo. I'm a Navajo princess. All right. We're not all just Indians. And that's one of the things that the chiefs are starting to understand in most dominant society is there are so many tribes and there's so many customs and there's so many different things. In our first meeting, I asked how many tribes wear a headdress.
Right.
How many Indian tribes wear a headdress?
Right.
It's only the Plains Indians.
That's right.
You don't see the guys in California running. You didn't see the Cherokee running around. They're wearing turbans.
And you don't see the Pueblos wearing headdresses.
No, they wear. Everybody has their own type of headgear.
And they have their own identity. And let me tell you, I'd give anything to have a Indian princess daughter. Anything to have an Indian princess daughter. And trust me, I would deck her out like you wouldn't believe. And I'd waltz her around, and she would be the little yellow horse girl. But anyway,
but those are opportunities that I see as Native to educate the public about Indians. Where are they going to get that?
Well,
they don't teach that in school.
No, and the problem is you got people like Halbritter that's trying to wipe this out.
Sure.
He's like a damn Hitler. And he wants to just wipe out all the imagery of Native American social and cultural genocide, where in 100 years, nobody knew who the hell we were. Nobody knew who you were. Nobody cared about your tribe or your mom's tribe, and nobody cared about the Navajo Nation. And that's right. And I can't handle that. I got to stop that. And that's why this radio show's here to fight that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we've only started last year, and I think we made some headway. And then get back to the victory we had today. There was a company here that had it in their thing, a guy in a headdress, painted white. There was a white guy painted, and some lady, and they're all cheering, like the Chiefs game. And I'll text you the picture.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's okay. I mean, these people just don't know. They don't do it to put Native Americans down. That's the bottom line.
So,
they're not doing that to make fun of you. They're doing that because they think it's fun, and it's,
they think it's fun,
all that. Go ahead, Mark.
And we're gonna have some backing from NAGA. We could actually educate some of these people if they get in contact with us with NAGA and give us some support. To use these images in the right way to actually educate people furthermore and to embrace these images and logos. They're not mascots. We're not, degrading anyone.
I'm one of the members of Native American Guardians Association. Mark's vice president, and Dan's director of media. And I'm also affiliated. I'm all across the board. But anyway, we got to do it. It's a united effort with with everybody. That's what we got to do. United we stand, divided we fall.
Well, what they did was we talked with the Chiefs once I saw that, and I got a confirmation today that they pulled the ad.
Really?
And the reason they pulled that, which I thought was good, is it could be presented in a different way.
Right.
And so there's things that we're doing that are positive, and there's things that people might not agree with, but that's just life,
Hey, real quick before we get off the air here, because we're over time, tell us what's happening with the dinner, Jim Thorpe's grandson, and October 23rd or 25th, please.
Right, October 23rd here in Kansas City at the American Indian Center here at the Loretto. We're having a dinner, and we've invited in Bill Thorpe and Richard Thorpe. They are the living sons of Jim Thorpe. One is 88, and I believe the other gentleman is like 86. And they're going to be our honored guest to celebrate Native American Month at Arrowhead.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Jim Thorpe is as big as it can get.
And even we could actually do something for Native American Heritage Day. Do you guys have anything this year around November 27th?
I don't think we do. One of the reasons we're doing it here at the end of October is the Chiefs are in London November 1st, and then they're away. Then they have a bye. Then they're away. They only have one game, and that's at the end of November. I think it's the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of having maybe bad weather or snow, they said, let's do it now when the weather's going to be nice and the crowd's going to be good. I tell you, last year when we did that, you would have thought the Chiefs scored a touchdown. I mean, everybody was so pumped and excited when they came off the field. Everybody wanted to come back.
That's
but
awesome.
It is an experience. Oh,
That'd be
absolutely.
awesome.
Hey, Johnny, we're going to have to cut her loose.
Okay, well.
Hey, listen, we'll talk in the morning as we always do.
Always great to hear from you, Johnny. Thanks for taking time out of the baseball game. I hope you come back and they're caught up.
Hey, I haven't missed anything, I can tell you that.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, and again, you're my friend, you're my brother, and I'm here to help. And we're gonna run we got the ball and we're going down the field, okay?
Yeah, we are.
Please come back and talk to us again.
And if you guys need any insight or anything, just get with Dan for Naga, and we'll give some of our opinions and stuff.
I think someone sent me some information about that.
Okay, completely.
Awesome. Okay, very good.
Hey, well, thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Okay, talk to you tomorrow.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping it up. I thought we had a good show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Again, a week from tomorrow, we're headed for California. We'll be on the battlefield with Gustine, California Mayor and City Council, and the Gustine Redskins high school alumni, students, football team, whatever. And we're going to show them that we're the real deal, and we're here to stick up for them. Anything you want to say, Dan?
Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in.
How about you, Marky?
Everyone needs to have a great night. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah, stay out of trouble. Hell, I'm just getting ready to rock and roll. How about you? Well, hey, look, we're closing it out here.
Stay beast mode. Stay away from those French fries.
Okay, Kyle, just tell our listening audience all over the country and international, why in the hell am I here?
Kicking ass and saving names, Ambassador.
That's it.
Too.
Thank you for listening to The Real Deal. Tune in to The Real Deal with the Ambassador and Danny Q every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and on demand 24/7 right here on Star Worldwide Networks.